The gin bottle on every bar shelf carries a secret older than the British Empire itself. Juniperus communis, common juniper, produces berries containing over 87 distinct volatile compounds, a complexity no laboratory has fully replicated. A 2019 study published in the journal Industrial Crops and Products identified alpha-pinene, saponine, and limonene as the dominant active terpenoids, confirming centuries of documented antimicrobial use. Medieval European pharmacopeias listed juniper berry preparations as treatments for everything from kidney complaints to plague prevention. The gin industry extracted one dimension of this plant and sold it back at 1,000% markup. The rest of the berry's story was quietly shelved. Juniper grows on rocky hillsides in boreal forests across steppe and scrubland. No irrigation needed, no fertilizer required. It thrives precisely where agriculture fails. That is not a coincidence. That is a botanical sovereignty the system never monetized. And the most unsettling chapter of Juniper's history has nothing to do with gin at all. Juniperus communis is one of the most geographically widespread conifers on Earth. Its range spans the entire northern hemisphere, from Arctic Norway to the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. Archaeological evidence from Mesopotamian sites places juniper wood and berries in ritual and medicinal use over 4,000 years ago. Egyptian tomb records reference juniper resin as a component in embalming preparations. The resin's antimicrobial properties made decomposition slower. Roman physicians, including Dioscorides, documented juniper's use for digestive complaints and lung conditions. The plant was not considered folklore. It was formal medicine. Medieval monks cultivated juniper in monastery gardens specifically for the apothecary. Hildegard von Bingen, the 12th century herbalist and polymath, wrote extensively on juniper in her botanical compendium Physica. She described it as warming to the body and clarifying to the lungs. 7 centuries of European medical tradition rested, in part, on this spiny shrub. Then modernity arrived and reclassified it as flavoring. The transformation of juniper from medicine to mixer is a story of industrial reduction. Dutch physician Franciscus Sylvius is often credited with creating Genever, the precursor to gin, in the 17th century. His original formulation used juniper berries for their documented diuretic and antimicrobial properties. It was sold as medicine in Dutch pharmacies. The British military encountered it during the 30 Years' War. They called it Dutch courage. By the early 18th century, London's gin craze had stripped the berry of every medicinal context. What survived was only the flavor, the aromatic ghost of a once complex botanical. Today, the global gin market exceeds $17 billion annually. The juniper berry receives nothing from that transaction. It grows wild, unpaid, in the same rocky soils it has occupied for millennia. The distinction between medicine and cocktail ingredient was never botanical. It was economic. Juniper berries are not berries in the botanical sense. They are modified seed cones, fleshy, blue-black structures that take 2 to 3 years to fully mature on the branch. The slow maturation concentrates the terpenoid compounds that made this plant medically significant. Alpha-pinene, the dominant terpene, has demonstrated significant antimicrobial activity in multiple peer-reviewed studies. Saponine contributes anti-inflammatory properties documented in controlled laboratory settings. Terpenen 4-ol, the same compound responsible for tea tree oil's antiseptic reputation, is present in meaningful concentrations in juniper berry extract. These are not folk claims. They are published chemistry. A 2020 review in the journal Molecules cataloged over 60 bioactive constituents in Juniperus communis berry extract. The plant is, by any clinical measure, a complex pharmacological system. Yet it appears on the back of a gin bottle as a flavor note. The science was always there. The profit motive looked elsewhere. The connection between juniper and immune support runs deeper than medieval herbalism. During the Black Death of the 14th century, physicians across Europe burned juniper wood in sick rooms to purify the air. The practice was empirical observation, not superstition. Juniper smoke contains volatilized antimicrobial terpenes that reduce airborne pathogen load, a mechanism partially validated by modern ethnobotanical research. Indigenous peoples of North America used Juniperus communis and related species extensively. The Ojibwe prepared bark and berry decoctions for respiratory conditions. The Navajo used juniper ash in ceremonial and medicinal contexts. Across cultures separated by oceans and centuries, the same plant received the same classification. That convergence is not coincidence. It is empirical consensus, reached without laboratories. The 21st century rediscovered what the 14th century already knew. Studies now confirm juniper extracts inhibit several strains of bacteria and demonstrate antifungal activity in vitro. The archive was never lost, it was ignored. Juniperus communis is among the hardiest woody plants in temperate and boreal zones. It tolerates USDA zones 2 through 7, surviving temperatures well below -30 degrees Celsius. The plant demands full sun and sharp drainage. It is happiest in the soils that defeat every other cultivated crop. Limestone outcroppings, sandy slopes, eroded hillsides. Growth is slow by commercial standards. A mature shrub may take 15 to 20 years to reach productive berry yield. That timeline is incompatible with quarterly profit cycles. It is perfectly compatible with a garden built for the next generation. Juniper requires no pesticides. Its own terpene chemistry repels most insect pests. The plant is its own defense system. Female plants produce the berries. Male plants provide pollen. Both sexes must be present for fruiting. One mature female can produce berries continuously for decades. That is not a crop, that is a legacy. Walk into any premium spirits shop, and the word juniper appears on dozens of bottles. None of them describe the plant's full chemical profile. None mention the centuries of documented medicinal use. None acknowledge that the berry growing wild on an alpine hillside carries more bioactive complexity than any distilled extract ever could. The label tells you what the marketing department decided you needed to know. History tells a more complicated story. In the 1800s, juniper was still listed in the British Pharmacopoeia as an official diuretic and urinary antiseptic. It remained a recognized pharmaceutical ingredient until the mid-20th century. Its removal from official medical registers coincided with the rise of synthetic diuretics, patentable, profitable, precisely dosed. The wild berry offered no patent protection. It was reclassified not because the science failed, but because the economics demanded alternatives. That is the pattern. It repeats across every wild plant that ever threatened a pharmaceutical margin. Juniperus communis still grows on every continent in the Northern Hemisphere. It has outlasted every empire that ever used it, traded it, or distilled it. The berries still ripen slowly, still concentrate their complex chemistry, still fall unpicked on 1,000 hillsides every autumn. Planting juniper is an act of temporal defiance. It will not reward impatience. It will not yield a harvest in the first season, or the second, or the fifth. What it offers is permanence. A plant that will still be fruiting when the gin brands that profited from its name have been acquired, rebranded, and dissolved. The botanical record does not lie. The history does not change. Juniper was medicine before it was marketing. That knowledge belongs to anyone willing to grow one. Subscribe, the vault is not yet empty.